But for people like us, and especially in our case with Ellie's case, the person who assisted in her murder fits the criteria for early release. It's like kicking the teeth. And again, it just shows that the families and the victims don't get a say in any of this. And it just shows you that they don't care. And it's devastating to wake up to a phone call yesterday to say that there's going to be absolutely no change, other than obviously for paedophiles and rapists, which quite rightly so, but then everyone else is still unaffected, so they're free to walk in October. And like I said, it's a massive kick in the teeth. I think I did write to Andy Burnham last week, and I asked him to just look at the criteria that people are going to fit, be under or fit to get the early release, and there was no response, no. And obviously the reason why was because they were never going to change it. And I put that more on the Ministry of Justice, because they just won't change. They don't want to change. They're all about number crunching. Because look at the one who assisted in Ellie's murder. He got 9 years. He's literally done 3. And he knows where that gun is. The gun has never been found. That gun is still out there. So what's to stop him coming out and picking that gun up again? There's nothing to stop him doing that, is there? I think he's getting out a year and a half earlier.
So, important to recognise that already people who are on life sentences, people who've been convicted of murder, terror offences, they're outside of this. I'm pleased we've been able to add rapists and child sex offenders there as well. We would have liked to have gone further, but we couldn't, because if we do that, we would run out of prison places very quickly, and then no victims would be getting justice, because their perpetrators wouldn't be being detained, they wouldn't be being incarcerated. That can't be right. I know that's a difficult balance. I know that's caused upset and anxiety, but I believe strongly that's the right balance.
And each one of them is 4 stories high, and we literally, what you see now. Just explain, why are you releasing so many people before you would have otherwise been releasing them?
Well, when we came to government 2 years ago, we were days away from prison places running out. That would have meant people being arrested but then bailed straight home and not being able to go to prison for crimes they committed. We are changing that reality. As you see here, we're building prison places at a rapid scale, 14,000 places coming like these out of the ground. We've also made important changes to sentencing to make sure we do have enough prison places. Without those sentencing changes, we would run out in October or November of this year. Now, that is about, yes, a slightly earlier release, but with significant control in the community. However, victims and survivors have raised with us concerns. New Prime Minister, Andy, myself have looked at this, we paused this briefly and have made important changes so that now those who've been in prison for rape, for child sexual offences, they won't be in scope. We'd like to have gone further than that, but that's an important step forward.
Why did you not go further? Why are people who, for example, have been responsible for killing people going to be getting out early?
So, important to recognise that already people who are on life sentences, people who've been convicted of murder, terror offences, they're outside of this. I'm pleased we've been able to add rapists and child sex offenders there as well. We would have liked to have gone further, but we couldn't, because if we do that, we would run out of prison places very quickly, and then no victims would be getting justice, because their perpetrators wouldn't be being detained, they wouldn't be being incarcerated. That can't be right. I know that's a difficult balance. I know that's caused upset and anxiety, but I believe strongly that's the right balance.
But you did get people's hopes up. For example, PC Harper's family hoped that 2 of the people responsible for his death would not be getting out. Now they are. What have you said to them?
Well, first of all, I think it was important that we took that pause, as I say, a new Prime Minister, a new Justice Secretary. And in doing so, we looked at what we could do, you know, and had lots of people raising their issues. We have managed to bring forward significant changes. You know, it is important we've been able to take out of this, you know, the offences that we have. Of course, we wanted to do more. I've had those conversations. Those are very, very difficult conversations because, quite rightly, families, many families, including the families that you mentioned there, are really upset about it, and they feel that they're carrying the can for previous failures, and they're right. And that shouldn't be the case. But we have to fix this system, and the reforms we're doing, that's what we do to fix these systems, as well as, of course, what we're doing here today.
Have you said sorry to those families?
Yes, I have. I've spoken to them. You know, it is really important that we express, you know, that this shouldn't be where it is, and we wanted to go further than we could, and I wish we couldn't, but we can't, and then and still have a, you know, a viable prison estate. That, of course, has to change. That's why we're doing the work we're doing.
There is a flip side, which is that prison governors now have to find more spaces than they were going to because you're releasing fewer people early. Is the space there?
Yes, we've modelled it very carefully, you know, and I'm grateful for prison governors, I'm grateful for prison staff and indeed probation staff who've been very patient during this pause, because this has got a real day-to-day impact, and we are grateful for that. But as a result of the work that we've been doing, including the, you know, really good improvements in terms of removing foreign offenders, we have the scope to make these changes. I'm pleased that we have. As I say, we would have liked to have gone further, but we have been able to do this.
Obviously, you've got a huge prison building programme going on. We can see some of it behind you, but here at this prison and elsewhere, local residents have objected. Do you have sympathy to those who don't want prisons built near their homes?
Of course, I understand that, you know, even something here that's part of a really important national programme providing 14,000 prison spaces, even national programmes are local somewhere. You know, I would always want us to be the best neighbours possible. You know, we've been with the contractors today, with the people doing the build, and, you know, had that assurances from them that when residents raise concerns, or, you know, they will be taken seriously, and there can be changes made to try and make that easier. That, of course, doesn't make it go away, but I hope would make everyday life that bit better.
One other issue, Lord Chancellor, there was a fire on a migrant boat in the Channel today. What can you tell us about that, and what that shows about just how dangerous things in the Channel are getting?
It's a very visible reminder both of the dangerous nature of those crossings, also of the blind indifference that human traffickers have for life on those boats. The right levels of crossing, of course, is for them to never happen. I'm pleased with the work that we're doing with France. That's reduced 46,000 preventions already this year. We are seeing some positive steps forward in terms of some of the numbers related to it too, but we've got to keep doing that work to dissuade people from making those dangerous crossings, and that's what we're doing.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Central segregation area, so that the kind of vision panels you see there within the walls are where staff literally look and watch. And then we're going to go this or don't do that. And a lot of the actual cells are literally just handed. Yeah, completely anti-each other. And then the chance they get, there's that possibility that you want to eliminate straight away.
They drop these in.
Yeah. Right. And each one of them is 4 stories high, and we literally, what you see now of play.
Wow.
And there's about 230 of them that make each
Right.
of the actual 7 house blocks.
But you could do that all off-site.